Welcome to the Massive Change Show. I'm Justin Foster.
And I'm Dr. Virginia Lacayo. In each episode, we have conversation with leaders who are getting in some good trouble by challenging paradigms and shaking the system.
And after each conversation, the episode shifts to the second show, where Virginia and I chat about what we learned from the guest.
If you know of any leaders who will make a great guest, please introduce us.
And of course, if you enjoy the show, please like, share, and leave a review.
Thanks for listening.
In this episode of the Massive Change Show, we visit with Kate and Erin, co-founders of Little Blue Cart, a progressive small business directory built on the audacious idea of giving consumers a direct way to support small businesses that stand for democracy, inclusion, and human dignity. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Kate and Erin from Little Blue Cart, the co-founders. I found you in my search for interesting and badass guests. I knew immediately in our introductory call that y'all were going to be amazing to talk to. Excited that Virginia and I are excited to have this conversation with you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So you have launched a rather audacious idea, which we'll get to in just a moment. But tell us a little bit about your backgrounds individually, and then how you met. And I'm just going to randomly pick Erin to go first.
Oh, Kate and I are military wives, and we met back in 2016, I believe, in Misawa, Japan. Her husband was my husband's boss, and therefore she was responsible for keeping the wives of the folks inside the squadron happy and entertained. And it's a very small base, so it was a challenge, but it was a lot of fun. She was amazing as a leader for the women. And then we just maintained contact throughout the years. She went to a couple of other bases in different states, and as well as I did. We traveled around, and then we ended up back in Virginia at the same location, essentially. So yeah, that's how we met and how we've just maintained our friendship.
Yeah. And how about you, Kate? Anything to add to that backstory?
Yeah, I mean, Erin made it sound like I just had to be her friend because I was a good military spouse. But no, the truth is, I remember the day the plane landed in northern Japan, and we've just been fast friends ever since. It's been awesome. And yeah, like she said, we're military folks, so we've each been to several locations since, and obviously have remained just the best of friends. And then when we were stationed together in Northern Virginia, having to align, with the last presidential election, and so it was sort of, all the pieces fell into place, and we said we have got to do something. Erin can tell the story when you asked about how we came up with the idea. We just, we're in the right place at the right time to be working together and get creative.
So before that, though, also thank you too for your service. Everybody always thanks the military too, and we should. All volunteer military is pretty amazing, and also the best leadership development program in the world, in my opinion. I'm curious, though, because you mentioned wives. Was that what branch of the military, and what was the MOS of the unit? Like the main, what were y'all doing where there were only wives and no military husband, no male spouses?
In our squadron, there were no male spouses, and that's not untypical. It's pretty female driven, but we did have a male spouse on the base, and he was our friend, and he was the most amazing skier, and he gave guides up on the mountains, and just an amazing person. He was a jack of all trades. He could be called at any moment, but it was just there's mainly female wives on the military installations.
Branch were y'all in?
We were in the Air Force. Yeah, our spouses are in the Air Force. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
By default.
By proxy, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So go ahead and share a little bit about then this idea, and then we'll dig into the system shaker questions, because they really fit what y'all are doing.
So we start with the question, or we start with them sharing what they're doing?
Yeah, go ahead with the kind of the back of the napkin moment with the Little Blue Cart.
Yeah, I have many questions about that.
Yeah, excellent. We love them. I was rightfully enraged, I guess is the best word you could describe it, when Kamala Harris lost the election, and we quickly realized that we were going to be living under a dictator, because we listened to what was said during the campaign. And I just refused to spend my money where I knew I could control it, with people that supported his election and through their vote. Kate and I both had seniors at that time in high school. And she had already posted her child's senior pictures, and they were beautiful. And I was overwhelmed with trying to find one. And so I just reached out to her and I was like, hey, you're a photographer. I love the photos. Do you know who they voted for? And she was like, I actually do know who they voted for, and they did not vote for him. And so, we started talking about that, because it wasn't meant to be a business. It was just like, that's a thing that we decided that we were going to do, is just not spend our money with businesses that support this administration. And so we just kept talking, because we like to talk. And we came up with the idea. We're like, let's come up with a directory of businesses, because we cannot be the only ones that feel this way. So that is the initial starting of how Little Blue Cart came about.
And
that is great.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say, to add some more color, which I don't like to think back to this night that often, but on election night, we took the metro into DC. We went to Howard University. We were there. We were ready to celebrate. We were with daughters, and we left heartbroken. I mean, I literally block it out, because it was awful. We were just in this collective group of thousands of people who were there to celebrate. As the night went on, everyone was looking around, realizing what was happening. Erin's daughter was in shock. And I mean, we were like, this is not supposed to be happening. This is, so it was one of those moments that you realized how out of control things are. A lot of, we can vote, we can protest, we can do all of these things. And it still felt like it wasn't enough. Like we hadn't managed to get her elected. And so this was this realization, like, okay, well, this is something that we can control every single day. And no one can get in the way. I can choose where I'm spending my money. And this is how we can take some power back, and how we can feel a little bit, grasp onto every bit of power or control that we can manage to have in this horrendous environment. So I think it really, maybe if we hadn't gone down to Howard, maybe if we hadn't been just venting to one another, it all wouldn't have come together, but it really did. It just, everything aligned for us to get that spark, that idea, and then sit down at my kitchen table and just roll with it and just, get it built.
That's awesome. I've been an activist and fighting for social justice my whole life. So I'm always curious when I run into people. I mean, you're activist in every sense of the word. Is this your first experience as being actively outside, building something, being entrepreneurs, and being out there as activists for a cause like that? Or you have previous experience in this kind of endeavors?
I'll say Kate was the most inspiring person to mirror off of. She's been an activist since the day I met her. Before I met her, but that's one thing that was just amazingly, I drew to her because of that. She had a voice, she used it, and she was very kind. She was not overbearing about it, but you always knew where she stood. And I just thought that was just so admirable. And she taught me how to march and how to call my congressmen, my senators, and boy, they do not like to hear me. Because I call them all the time. I just called them yesterday. So, I feel like the activism is now more comfortable for me, but it's very awkward when you are first starting to do it, because it's something that we are not encouraged to do by anybody that at least I'm aware of, But no, activism, like you say, it's not one dimensional. It takes all forms. And we definitely see that Little Blue Cart is a form of activism.
Yeah. And I would like to hope that it can be a gateway form of activism, where it's a little step where you're, instead of shopping from a big box, you're going to find a small business instead. And then maybe that will just help spark this idea that little things can add up to a big impact. But yeah, like Erin said, I just have always been very outspoken. I remember some of my earliest memories are walking in a picket line with my mom, who was in a union, and I just have always been that way. And even in the military community, Erin mentioned, when we were together in Misawa, and because of my spouse's job, I would get some feedback sometimes that maybe I shouldn't be so vocal. And I just thought, if I'm not showing up as my whole self. Like, this is just who I am. These are the things I believe in. And if I turn off some people, fine. But I will attract the right people who see that this is all coming from a place of heart. And that's also really, how we explain and how we try to motivate small businesses to not be shy about their values, to be outspoken and lead with that heart and vision, because that is really more authentic, and it's customers connect more with you and the mission and feel like they're part of something rather than just, buying a candle off the shelf at someone when it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And are your husband's officers or non-commissioned?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I could see why, Kate, why you got some shit from, when your husband's an officer, especially that whole culture, the officers' wives and everything. But I assume both of your husbands were supportive of you using your voices. Let's not talk about if they weren't.
Now they are. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think
There was a
I think it's
conversation in our house where I said, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I
Well, you
understand.
don't ask for permission, and they know that. I mean, we've both been married for gobs of years. I mean, they've learned that we don't need their permission to do things because we are our own individual person. And to say that they don't encourage that would be far from the truth. Our husbands, we have been self-reliant because of our husbands being in the military. We learned to live with making our decisions for ourselves, and leaning into each other. And so it's not uncommon for military wives to find like lifelong friends, even though that they're not stationed at the same location, just because it's somebody that is going through the same thing that they are. And if they have shared values, then it's a lot easier to, be, very communicative with each other and share like stories.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Virginia, the setup for the first System Shaker question is pretty obvious, but let's kind of dig into that a little bit more. Go ahead, please, Virginia.
Yes, well, it's my next question because I know a little bit about it, but I know that the audience wants to, okay, so what is this about? So the question that we ask to our system shakers is, what is that big idea that you have that will piss off a lot of powerful people? So now we would love for you to explain what the project is about and how you think that is going to create some kind of impact and momentum for things to change.
It's really about, like, we know because you said it's a directory, but like you're taking this somewhere. There's vision behind it. So it's almost like, where are you taking this that's going to piss off powerful people?
Everybody knows speaking out against corporations is a real big risk, because we're literally telling people, stop if you can. We know that you can't stop it all. You can't stop shopping at Walmart because they have certain things that small businesses cannot provide you, at least at this point. I mean, who knows? We don't know all the small businesses out there. So at this point, our message is very clear. If you can stop shopping Amazon, Walmart, Target, whatever corporation that you find is your go-to for certain products, let's take those dollars and use them towards businesses that vote for your rights, for your democracy, and spend it with them, because it will have a much larger impact on people than it will if you spend your dollars with those corporations that all they're doing is reinvesting in their own stocks or buying themselves a tax exempt yacht or, a third home over in Europe. It's gross. And, people like to see they can make an impact. That's why GoFundMe exists. People like to see a small business, a small person, somebody that doesn't have, and they would like to put them on an equal playing ground. And that's pretty much what Little Blue Cart hopes to do.
Yeah. I mean, in the long run, we hope to help spark a shift of consumerism away from big box stores that are literally contributing to politicians who are voting to take away our rights, shift money away from corporations that don't even pay taxes. I mean, Amazon pays $0. They're not even paying taxes to help fill the pothole on your road. But meanwhile, the mom who owns a candle company and is literally making candles in her kitchen at night, you're putting food on her table the next day if you make a purchase. You are having not only an impact by voting with your dollars who you're supporting, but you are impacting a small business owner's like actual life, their income. Like Erin said, you're not supporting someone's $50 million wedding abroad or their 10th house or however many yacht. Like by focusing on people who are progressive and small businesses, it's like a win-win. You're getting two awesome benefits out of spending intentionally that way.
Yeah.
So the project, what it is, Little Blue Cart, is explain a little bit more of the project for people that want to look for it. So it's a directory, it's a website, it's a directory of shops. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So Little Blue Cart, it started, the idea was, okay, how do we find photographers who have similar values to us? So that was, like Erin said, the idea that sparked it. So we said, well, let's just create a directory. We're going to find businesses that we already shop from and know. We'll reach out to them. We're going to look on the internet, see who we can invite to join. We're going to ask our friends to nominate and it just sort of snowballed from there. It's literally a directory online. So if you're shopping for soap or a t-shirt or children's clothes, you can come and look in that category and find a list of small businesses and find one that you want to support. We also have the businesses tagged by underrepresented groups. So we have BIPOC, LGBTQ owned businesses, disabled owner or people who employ disabled folks. I know I'm forgetting other ones, military and veteran spouse owned. What else am I forgetting, Erin? I feel like there's one.
I think that was it.
So we also, if you're called to spend your money with a certain owner or creator, you can search for them that way too. But as we've been working behind the scenes for a long time and are really hoping that any day now we will be able to launch our market so that folks can shop directly on Little Blue Cart and not have to take the step to search outside. That, is very exciting. And that wasn't in our vision when we launched in January, that wasn't the plan we were going to take in this first year. But, it was another example of in the summer when Etsy was allowing alligator Alcatraz merch to be sold alongside LGBTQ plus, pride hats. It was like these don't align. Why? I don't want that anywhere near the stuff I'm selling is what we were hearing from our vendors. So we got to work on the back end to build a market so that we can provide a safe, inclusive place where these small businesses have worked to create something that they believe in, and it shouldn't have to even be on the same platform where people are selling hate. So that is the next step in helping to empower people to make those smart blue buying choices.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And I would like to add on to that is that we have options on both of those platforms that are free so that it's not costly at all to be on the platform. We do have upgraded options for folks that want to make it more attractive to buyers. But our foundation of Little Blue Cart was always intended to be free for people, and that will stay that way.
That is awesome. And how many vendors do you have so far? I mean, I guess it's growing really fast.
We have almost 700 on the website right now.
That is great. And how you establish the relationship with the vendors? I mean, it's not just to find them online and then put their website, but I guess that you have some kind of connection with them at some point, right? They know.
Yeah, it has been so fun. I think that's one of the rewards that I didn't see coming when we started building it, is just the sense of community and learning about all of these small business owners and their challenges and their successes and trying to share in their successes with them. That has been one of the most rewarding parts, is getting to know all these owners and entrepreneurs and people who are really just busting their behinds to try and earn a living. So we have a form. Folks can come and nominate them, submit their business, and then we vet them to make sure we have a very clear ethics guidelines, community standards. And so when businesses join, they agree to those. And then we, check them out to make sure they're, that they align with us and align with our community's vision. So then we approve them to the website and they are listed on Little Blue Cart.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And it's one of the things that MAGA in particular is they kind of suck at the free market, like especially in voting's a free market. That's why they have gerrymandering and Citizens United and all that shit. And I love too that you are using free market capitalism to counter corporate capitalism, and that there's a nuance there because they're two very different things. And it's just there's so many things about it that just give me the warm and fuzzies, the backstory and your energy behind it, and it's just very cool. So it kind of goes into the second system shaker question. Then is like, what are some of the challenges you have from a entrepreneurial revenue generation, marketing, branding, dealing with like trolls? Like, what are some of the things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis that are challenges for you as business owner?
Right now, it's financial, just because we grew really fast, and then our vision grew with the folks coming on, and a lot of it is because people, as they come on, because we're dealing with a bunch of creative folks, they're just like, hey, it would be nice if you could do this. Hey, it would be great if the directory can do that. And so we were like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And so that's not free. And so, we created merch that we sell to fund the emails that we have to pay for MailChimp. And then, the house of for the website to be ran on. I'm not on the lingo, so sorry. And then, and then paying a webmaster to create the new directory and the market. That's all very, very expensive. And so we had like a month, 4 weeks that we were asking people to donate. And it was very, very awkward for us because we're military wives. We do not ask for help. We do not do that. And so it was super, super awkward. And we did raise some funds. And so we are super, super, super appreciative to the donors for that. But we're still very short for the market to be launched to pay for that. So yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, I think the funding and raising capital is definitely the biggest challenge. And part of it is that we don't really want anyone else telling us, well, you should actually do this to make more money. Because that isn't, again, don't let my spouse hear, that isn't the number one goal, to make money. Do we hope eventually all of this hard work pays off? Absolutely. But we're doing it and reinvesting everything we make because we love it and we believe in it so much. So yeah, the merch, upgraded listings, all of those things goes right back into, the cost of running the directory. I think we just have faith and believe it's grown so fast. It will just continue to snowball and grow, and it will be lucrative. We'll be able to bring on help and it will be amazing. So we'll get there. But now, it's just part of that entrepreneur. Feels very stressful, but I have full faith. Like Erin mentioned, the fundraising campaign we did was so awkward, but so rewarding because it was, from the very word go, we've just had these signs all along the way and all the people who are saying, I'm so happy you're doing this.
Yeah.
Businesses, I'm so glad, so thankful you offered this platform. I'm so proud of the community you're building. And so we know we're not alone. We know people are invested just like we are. So
Yeah. And for the haters, you asked about that. You don't really have haters. I will say that. We've had onesie twosies here and there, and all they're doing is trying to get attention. And I take it as a compliment because I think, oh, wow, they think we're so big that their little voice is going to have an impact on us. And so we generally just ignore them. Sometimes, other folks that are following Little Blue Cart will speak up and we just let them say stuff. But we did have a video very recently in response to the National Guard being sent into states, which is very unpatriotic and un-American and pretty much illegal, in my opinion. And there were some really strong opinions and then hurls of just criticism thrown at Kate and I, personal criticisms of us. And I was a little shocked. I did laugh a lot. I will be honest with you. But most often than not, that stuff just does not bother me because I think they're just jealous. They are jealous of the attention that these small businesses are getting. And it's not focused on them.
Yeah. And I think know either directly or indirectly one of our prior guests, Trevor Silva from Cluck Hut. And he talked about that too. And, he's very much wired like me. It's like we are the same I wouldn't be surprised if we had some sort of like genetic ties or something, because he loves that shit, and like he'll post it, and there's many other people I follow that are, more on the non-mog side of things, and they'll like post the comments because the best way to show someone's stupidity and horribleness is to show you what they say, you know.
Yeah.
And the young Republicans learned that the hard way recently. So,
Yeah.
and as far as the business model part goes, it's you're doing the things that you can't, like you have a solvable problem. Revenue is a solvable problem. Lack of courage isn't a solvable problem. You got plenty of courage, a
Or
great
vision.
idea, and a vision, right? And a great idea. It's a great idea, and so there's such an element to it of like just swing the hammer, just double down,
Yeah.
swing the hammer,
Yeah.
and I love what you said, Kate, about like keeping it so it's yours. And I often say some lessons I learned from angel investors or VCs is getting outside capital is the last thing you should do. Because they're going to, not only do they want their money back, they're going to tell you what to do with it most of the
Right.
time, And are you getting any national media exposure? I mean, you're on our show, but that is, we think we're amazing, but it's not like it's, Jon Stewart or something. Are you getting any national coverage?
Well, we are grateful to be here on the podcast. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We have everything, all the coverage that we've earned so far has been just totally organic and basically from our social media. So the one big feature we had this summer was Katie Couric. She found us on Instagram, and then the next day had one of her writers follow up with us. So they did a piece on us on the website and in their newsletter. So that was really exciting. And it's great on twofold. We always have sort of two audiences, right? We're trying to appeal to more businesses to come join us, and then we're trying to appeal to find our shoppers who we can connect with the small businesses. And that was so great in bringing in a ton of businesses, actually. Like so many folks registered after that, and it was so fun, getting social media comments or messages. I found you on Katie Couric and I just made my first purchase. Like I found my new favorite chocolatier and stuff like that. It's so fun. But that's really been the main big one. That even happened before we were ready. I think that's been the story, like you were saying, just go for it, which is what we did. We just went for it in January. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Like I had made this janky directory on the back end. I knew just enough to be dangerous, to like throw up so, but we wanted to just go for it. We weren't going to let perfect be the enemy of good. And we are still living by that model. Like we just believe in it and we know it's going to continue to get better and grow. So even the press came a little bit sooner than we were ready. Some of my work background is in communications and press outreach. And so I've had like a press release mocked up and ready to go when this next thing's finished or when that thing is ready. And so hopefully when we do the market outreach, we can get some more coverage. That's our next big goal for really trying to be proactive and get some media coverage.
I think that we all want to know more about this. I mean, it's important for people to, I really believe for the efforts that we have seen everywhere, that people want to participate. They want to do something. And one thing that I really comment about this project is to create an easy point of entry for people that they might be afraid or they might have difficulties to participating in more public ways, but they are aware that my money is something that is like a vote, is something where I can make a public statement or a political statement about where I stand, and just to creating spaces for that kind of people to say, well, that's one thing that I can do. And it's not more difficult. It doesn't require more of me. It's not more expensive. It really doesn't take more effort than putting my money where my mind is, where my worth are. So I think that the more coverage you have and the more the word spread is gonna grow really, really fast because people are looking for opportunities to contribute that way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Virginia, you're absolutely correct. And I think that to fine point exactly what you just said is that everybody can do something, but just because I go march, or, Kate calls her congressperson, that doesn't mean you have to do that. And you can't, but you can participate in activism. And this is a great way to do that. So I really appreciate you pointing that for us too. It's just bringing that up. Yeah, this is a form of activism that you can do from your home. You don't have to tell your neighbor who is MAGA and they don't, you don't want them to know that you're not. You can support small progressive businesses from your home.
Yeah.
And especially
exactly.
communities that are at risk in many ways, that have been oppressed, and that public exposure like that can put them at more risk even. We want to do something. We want to participate without that meaning that us or our family can be at risk, especially with, even physical safety even. But that is online, is your money. As you said, nobody has to know, and you're making a contribution that can make a big impact in the long run if we're all doing it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And when your market launches too, I assume, without getting into the nuts and bolts, that there's some sort of affiliate revenue in there or something, and that's the kind of thing where that you increase the viscosity, you increase the velocity, and that to me is like, that's the time when this thing is really going to get like rocket fuel on it related to revenue, because there's another platform out there for authors called bookshop.org, if you're familiar with, and they've kind of cracked the code on this, they're doing, I don't know what their annual revenue is, but they've been able to, they got a really smooth way of buying books from independent bookstores, and the site looks beautiful and everything works well, and it just and I think, Kate, you said this, that this is going to take on a life of its own, and you're gonna move, your moms, you're gonna move into that stage from trying to just keep them alive to like teach them how to function in the world, and that will happen too. The community that you're going to build from this is going to flourish. So let's get to the last question, and then we're going to say bye to y'all for now, and Virginia are going to have the second show. So go ahead with the final question, Virginia.
For all of us that for you to succeed and also want to be part of this new movement that you're building, what is the impact that you're seeing having, in the future? Something that, how would you describe it in a more tangible way so we can see it with you?
Measurable, yeah.
That's a good question.
Do you see like a certain number? Do you have a goal of a certain number of businesses in the directory, or a certain amount of revenue that's redirected?
We have plans, like we want to highlight, we have plans to we really want to always bring it back to the small businesses. So we haven't thought about what we would do with money because we haven't had it. But Kate and I, we've got some really fun ideas that we just came up with talking with somebody else this week, and we're super excited. But that too is going to cost money. So, but everything centers around bringing attention to the small businesses. So I think it's really, really important to make sure that it is clearly put out there that the goal of Little Blue Cart is not for Kate and I to be successful. Our success is completely measured on the success of the small businesses that are on the directory and then eventually on the market. We get so much personal pleasure from watching folks have success stories, and it literally gives us chills. We get giddy about it. We share, the posts, the comments with each other, emails, whatever it is, the communication is, sharing their success story. That is why we're doing this. So the number of people, before, when we first got started, I was like, how many small businesses are in the United States? It was like tens of millions of small businesses. Yeah. If we just tapped into 1%, that would be amazing. I don't even know what that would look like for us, but I don't see why we don't have half of that, because I think that that's all, it's just possible.
Yeah, there's 33 million businesses with less than 10 employees, and roughly 60% of them would be considered progressive to moderate.
There you go.
There's your market size. But you think about this too, the this is kind of my, the fuck you money from this is is if there's a number that you can redirect that is like, that would be such a profound thing. Like, I know you named Etsy, and they have had their issues, but they've also, the founders of Etsy and stuff are really progressive, and what they've built in this marketplace is pretty brilliant. But
Yeah.
Etsy is, if you combined all of the revenue generated by Etsy crafters, makers, it would be the 12th largest economy in the world.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So you think about like that kind of free market works when it's given the right spirit behind it. And and that's what I wish for you, that it's that kind of thing. And you draw the attention of some really big asshole enemies. That would be fun too.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And in terms of fundraising, just to put together some of the numbers, saying like how many small businesses that are progressive are in the country, what is the amount of dollars in revenue of big corporations versus small businesses, and start just monitoring the differences, like and just saying something bold. I mean, why not? As you said, anything is possible, and you're showing the level of success and its velocity that this is growing shows that there is a demand and there is an eagerness in the population to actually be able to do something in a way that resonates with them and their values. And this is a perfect way to do it. So if you start just managing numbers and throwing them every time you post on social media, you give an interview or something saying like, well, our goal is to reduce the amount of, revenues that these corporations receive by 50%, and that 50% going to small, businesses in the country that are progressive. Just something like that is like, why not? We have to really dream that big for people to get excited about it and say like, let's make it happen.
And we've turned this.
I'm so
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think with Target, the protest votes or the protest spending at Target, where we've been told for all these years that, that does not have an impact. Not shopping is not going to have an impact. And that was just a talking point because they're scared to death of us not shopping at that store. So I think that it is very impactful with our spending. And that's why I think Little Blue Cart is a great avenue for small businesses to be able to have an impact, and then the shopper. So we just have to, our biggest hurdle is just letting people know about us.
But you've already inspired me, Virginia, that we should have, once the market is launched and running and up and running and has we should have a running ticker of here's how much, you've directed this much money towards progressive homemakers.
Yeah. This is, Virginia and I, we can't help ourselves. We're coaches, so it's not from a podcast episode to a coaching session. But my final thing is, just from a brand perspective, is I would consider, not right away, but coming up with what I would brand it as the pain number, and it's like a number. It's like, this is how much it's going to, that we've redirected from Amazon or Target or whatever. And it's called the pain number. It means it has to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. To your point, Erin, about Target too. That's that's a perfect story. And you look at the other side too, the positive side of Costco, who doubled down on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and their revenue is skyrocketed. Something Nike taught everybody a long time ago that very few, not enough brands realize. Anyway, we all could talk to you all for days.
Yes.
We love your energy, your passion, your brilliance, your courage, all of that. And just keep doing it. We're going to do our part to promote you. And thank you so much for joining us. We're going to say goodbye to you and have the second show. Thank you.
Very inspiring. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
I kind of felt that we were going to just like, both of us were like, okay, I'm going to coach them.
Yes, when we find ideas that are so inspiring and so viable also, I mean, it's totally doable. What they want to do is in every way. I mean, from a financial standpoint, from a political standpoint, for social marketing, I mean, everything is just, they're started the right way. They have the right vision, the right spirit behind it, the right values behind it. So they're going to be really successful. I can't wait to see how it grows.
Have you ever seen in Latin America or in Central America in your work, have you seen a version of this? Because I know that isn't there like a marketplace in Nicaragua that is women run, or, that's like a literal marketplace? Have you seen other variations of this in your
No, we
travels?
have seen in very small efforts, really. I mean, cooperatives, small entrepreneurs, or especially at the very, very low level, like micro companies, let's say micro business, getting together to creating alliances or exchanging, complementing each other's services or values or things like that, but not at this level. Partly because two things, because the access of technology, I mean, something like the internet and a website and a listing like this, a directory like this, not all small businesses have that capacity in Latin America. So that's one thing. And the other is just the control of government and institutions that, they tend to just take over the control of anything that is start growing as an organization.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I assume that. Yeah, and I was thinking less online and more like if those cooperatives and then I was also curious, like at some point there's a force multiplier tipping point from a complexity standpoint, right? With what Kate and Erin are doing. Like there's a certain point where it's going to tip over into its own kind of because
yes,
they have the things that are the right pieces. It's mission first, model second. It's reinvestment. Obviously, they have the passion and the courage. So when you have those components, isn't there a tipping point? And do you get a sense of, I know that I'm just asking you right here on the fly in this recording, but do you get a sense of like what that tipping point might be for them related to a self-organizing community, essentially, or, yeah, organism?
it's hard to predict exactly when, but it all depends that it happens actually their level of control over the organization and the growing. If they stay clear about decentralizing the control and the power and the organization and actually allow for the system to start self-organizing themselves and just creating conditions and removing obstacles for that to happen, it's going to go really fast and it's going to self-organize really fast because that's what organizations like this, systems like this tends to do. They can kill it or at least keep it very limited and start getting a lot of obstacles because they're going to be fighting against what the system naturally wants to do, that is self-organize itself. If they want to keep control within a small group of people trying to direct everything, because the more it grows, the harder it's going to be to direct and control everything. A little bit what happened with Etsy as well. I mean, there is so much you can control. If you want that to become autonomous and self-organized and sustainable, that it sustain itself, let's say. But they are starting well. And I think that the spirit of we're not making this for the money is a good because it's focusing the attention on how to allow the small businesses to grow and to connect and to become a community that can promote itself. So that is a really good start, but they have to pay attention to that so to not get in the way of what the system will tend to do naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like just on a macro political economic thing too is that I think it was Erin that said is, no one they can fuck with your freedom, but they can't tell you who to buy from. It's an interesting thing too with kind of the American version of fascism and authoritarianism is if they did have the power to do that, the whole model would collapse because this is a very much the whole MAGA movement is not a grassroots movement in the sense of the funding. It's an oligarchical driven movement or organism. And I don't think many people, and this is why I brought up the nuance between corporate capitalism, especially people on the left, they tend to lump it as all capitalism is bad, but they do that while, living in an air conditioned house and driving nice cars and using, Apple laptops or whatever.
Mhm.
It lacks nuance. The nuance here is that what Little Blue Cart is doing and others like Cluck Hut and other companies out there is they're using free market capitalism or small business entrepreneurial capitalism, and that with the right mechanism, with the right system becomes a counterweight or it can pull. Like I fully believe if they do the things that you said with some other, and they can generate some revenue to cover their costs, that they are going to come up with that pain number. Like they'll actually hit it because it's a systems thing, and it's about leveraging a system that if Trump and the administration they fuck with that too much, it's going to hurt the oligarchs too. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
And also, I will not be surprised because they're not saying that it's only for very small businesses. They're saying that it's for businesses that support the human rights and democracy and freedom and etc. So I will not be surprised that later when they start getting stronger and more visible, some bigger business that are progressive, that are supporting that kind of values, and there are some, B Corps and many others, wants to join them and maybe sponsor that, like to help them not at investment capitals, but actually as a sponsorship to help the community to grow and to be more participatory and things like that. And that can create a huge impact because as you said, and they mention it, but I want to make it more explicit, the advantage of social entrepreneurships like this one and many of the small businesses that they are partnering with is that they have an advantage, let's say competitive advantage that nonprofit organizations don't have and big and governments, the public sector don't have it. They have the advantage of financial freedom and autonomy that nonprofit don't have. And they have the political freedom that the public sector don't have to really create a critical mass of the population making, impacting politics and policies. Because you mentioned before, the corporate America can, not as we understand the corporate America as big corporations, but, the private sector in a country can make a big impact in the politics and the social policies within, even the culture within that country. So this is a good place to be.
Yes, I
where
agree.
they starting.
Yeah, and I love that it's a model. Just like Cluck Hut or what Lisa is and her team are doing with Clutch Kit. It's a model. Is that you can attach the economic engine to rights, and
Yes.
when you can bring them together. And I love it when it's done at a big brand level like Nike does or Patagonia. I love it when that happens. But the early marriage or union between freedom or liberty, autonomy, rights, and the economic engine that to me gives me hope for the future. So,
Yeah.
all right.
That was very inspiring.
Very inspiring. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Please pay attention to A Little Blue Cart. The links are in the show notes. If you know of any other more progressive, open-minded, critical thinking business owners, we would love to have more business owners on the show. So just send us their website and I'll reach out to them. Please do that. And as always, please go out and shake the system in your own way. And if you need support with that, you know who to call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.